All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Screams from the Basement. I am one of your co hosts, Casey, and I'm joined with
Eh,
my co host, Sam Lenz.
How's it going, everybody?
Thank you for having me.
Sam, we are here with a very cool episode. I'm very excited for this. We had Ansel on our previous show, Backlot 605, talking about
Yep.
Loon Lake, and we talked about 1979's
Yeah.
Yep.
Dracula.
Yep.
Yeah, so we got some local lore of vampire legend. Now we're talking about Ansel's latest film, Todd Tarantula. Let's start off first. We'll introduce everybody here. Ansel Faraj, director, writer of Todd Tarantula. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thanks, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And we are joined by Todd's father in the film, Douglas
Hi.
Eames. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And last but not least, this is Mr. West's assistant, Emma West. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right. First thing, I'm going to throw it to Sam because I'll give a brief backstory. We both watched this. Sam watched this first, and he immediately said, "Dude, I love this movie." And Sam fell in love right away. And so I'm going to throw it to Sam first because I know you have a million questions right away. So Sam, what is the first thing you are going to ask the cast and crew here?
The first thing I want to say is just like, yeah, I did. I love this movie. It made me tear up at the end in a way that I was not expecting. I really enjoyed the father-son dynamic. Just personal things have been happening in my life where just a lot of this stuff really spoke to me, and so I really do appreciate this movie and really love what you guys did with it. And so this thing has such a wild, bold visual style to it that I was instantly just hooked into. And I looked into the IMDb trivia and did all of that, and I found out that you guys did rotoscoping for most of this to give it the colorful, like kind of Ralph Bakshi meets anime type of, like, it's crazy cool. So I guess my first question is, walk me through the rotoscoping process, and also did you know for the actors, did you know that you were going to be rotoscoped, and how did that inform your performance, knowing that?
I'll let them answer first. Let the actors go.
Yeah.
Emma, would you like to go first?
Thanks. I don't remember if I knew. I think I probably did. And I think as an actor, I don't know if you agree, Douglas, it's sort of knowing that you will look kind of otherworldly gives you a sort of freedom of performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I felt very free. I spoke with Ansel about it before, and he said, it's going to be a little cartoonish. I didn't quite know what to expect. Rotoscoping can mean different things. I looked it up and tried to research it, but he told me that we might need to make our actions a little bigger, a little stagier at times, because it loses a little of the definition that you would get with film in its regular sense. So in some ways we had to be a little bit bigger and a little bit more deliberate in our moves, and so that was the main difference. But I kind of forgot about that. And it still worked. I mean, we didn't seem to have any problems. But
It wasn't. I mean, we shot the film live action, and it wasn't like Avatar where they were all in mocap suits and stuff like that. We were there. We had locations. We had stages and whatnot. And then it was just in post production that when the film was finally like locked in the edit. It went through various processes, and I'd been working on a rotoscope design for a couple of years now. I'd done some tests on my romance film, Will and Liz. I did some rotoscope tests of just what could it look like with neon and with colors, because this film had always been in my head a cartoon, and to get like an anime feel like Akira and like a 70s French graphic novel where it's just really vivid and thick. So rotoscoping was always part of the design from the forefront. And what Doug said about just maybe broadening your face or doing a little bit more with your body motions, a little more cartoonish, was kind of the only instruction they had. But it was still, you're still just telling a basic emotional story. So it wasn't about the visual effects that are going on around you or the larger than life world. It was, you're in LA and this crazy thing is happening to you, and go with it.
Absolutely.
One thing I love right away when I heard about Todd Tarantula was the log line from the movie, a mystery of psychedelic proportions, and I'm like,
Yeah.
again, that's a perfect way to summarize this movie, which those should be. But I think for people going in that might not have heard of this movie, this might be their first introduction to it. How would you, all three of you in a way, how would you all describe this movie to someone if they came up on the streets and was like, hey, you're in Todd Tarantula? How would you describe it?
A wild ride.
In a sentence, it's a combination of so many genres. You got your fantasy genre, you got mystery. It starts off a strong mystery right from the beginning, and it's just so many different things coming together with the rotoscoping. So if I were to say what it was about in a sentence, I'm not sure exactly. I don't really have a good log line for it. It's just one man's journey of self-discovery, navigating with a background of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is practically an actor in this too, and the history and the backgrounds, and just learning to live with his gifts and learning how to direct his gifts in a positive way.
That's more than a sentence, Doug.
Yeah. Not good at sentences.
It describes it perfectly, though. It really does.
Yeah, I'm Irish. We have the gift of the gab. So. We go on.
Yeah, it's just I mean, a mystery of psychedelic proportions. It's a wild ride through LA trying to recover his stolen motorbike, and navigating time and space and all the traffic in between.
Yeah.
I know you had again, like Sam, I looked into the IMDb, and then obviously you've been sharing this quite a bit on social media. You've been working on this movie for over a decade, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What was the initial like inspiration for it? Or what was the initial like, oh man, this is the idea, and how has it changed in those 10 plus years?
I mean, the initial idea was this I'm making a film about Los Angeles, where Los Angeles is a character, something like Shortcuts or Chinatown, obviously Blade Runner, and just using LA as a real sandbox. And so this was when I was younger, and I had this idea of I was like, who would be my cool hero? And then this guy rolled in on a motorcycle with this leather jacket that had a spider, and he's just this cool badass guy. And I was just like, his name is Todd Tarantula. His name is Robert Paulson, but like it was just that. And then I had a very good, my mentor at the time was Lyndon Childs, who was this actor who worked with Hitchcock and old Hollywood. And I was like, well, he would have to be the bad guy. And this Oscar Wilde-esque figure that's just pursuing Todd through Los Angeles. And so I named him Lucifer. And it just kind of kept going from there and evolving. And, well, not evolving so much as just growing. And, whoa, technical difficulty. Yeah, and so the idea of the feature film has not really changed, of a murder mystery about Los Angeles and following these very eccentric characters. If anything, it's just kind of been streamlined in the decades since, because we were going to make this like 10 years ago, and then as with everything, money falls apart, and it didn't happen. So it just got tighter and more to the point of what I was trying to say versus 30 different subplots.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we were talking a little bit before camera rolled about Emma, you shot this in 45 minutes apparently.
Yeah.
How, and you're never not on a screen in the movie, I noticed. And so when you said 45 minutes, that makes sense. Was there any kind of interaction with the other actors while you were acting, or was it completely kind of off on your own, a little shoot?
You know what? Yeah, it's completely wild to sort of, yeah, to think that 45. Yeah, when I saw the film, I was like, Jabez is a presence, you know, and
Throughout the
so
whole
to
thing.
think, yeah, and to think that it was, you know, Ansel achieved that in a really short amount of time is awesome. But I was really lucky that day because Ethan, who plays Todd, was there to read with me, which is not always the case. And yeah, he was there. He was just bought some incredibly cool Doc Martin boots that he was trying on. That was like my first glimpse of him, was like this cool dude like lacing up his leather boots, and I was like, okay, so you must be Todd. But yeah, I was lucky because I had somebody to read opposite me. But yeah,
And Emma was the very first day of the shoot. It was the first person to get on camera for the film after a decade of trying to make this thing. I'm filming Jabez now, and and that was also Ethan's first time on a film set, and he's shoved in the corner like with the script and just figuring everything out. But she cracked me up because she was so mean and so on point, and we went right through it, and I'm like, damn, she's done. That was it. And but yeah, you are and so brief on set.
did you say I was mean? I lost you.
Yeah, you're as Javez's character. As Javez's character, you just go like so
No, that's
acidic
right, yes, that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Sort of like what a real assistant would be in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I do think that the English accent often lets you get away with quite a lot of things. maybe that contributed to it.
As I was cutting the film, every time I come to one of her scenes, it would make me laugh, like just the delivery and the stoicism and when you would choose to move and choose to blink and like all this preparation that was there, and yeah, like just so brief, 45 minutes and done. But that's just how it is sometimes on a shoot, you know. Well,
also you had a very clear idea of what you wanted as well, you know, unsurprisingly, since this had been in your brain for a decade. But that's incredibly helpful. That makes everything move faster, and for me it was great because we are as actors innately expressive, you know, but that's not always helpful for a character like Jabez. So, you know, there were a couple of moments where you were like, and do less. And do that, but just with your eyes, or you know, something similar. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, you never really know if you're an android or if you're a real person.
Well, that's the thing. By the end of the movie, you still don't really even know if Jabez is real. And I don't know. I love that. That's not even one of my questions. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I love the ambiguity.
I don't know.
But no, I love that. That's awesome. And Douglas, you have a big standout scene, pretty much at the halfway point.
Yeah, that was
the
great. I love to be able to play that scene because it was such a meaty scene. I think it's what every actor dreams of doing. And Ansel's writing was so great. I mean, there's so much to draw on. And like you say, there's so many emotions. I mean, I think we all have regrets and things in our family experiences from when we were younger. And just to be able to express that, you know, it felt very meaningful.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, what was it like to shoot with all the practical effects and all the lighting that is in that scene? Because it is very, very much a visually appealing scene as much as it is an emotionally appealing scene. What was it like shooting on that set with no spoilers for anything, but your character is not the same as it was as we were introduced 30 plus minutes earlier? Yeah.
Well, you know, when you rehearse it, you just kind of imagine, you fill in all of that in your head, and you just try to make it as real as possible. But when I saw the set, I was really amazed because, you know, Ansel spent a lot more on this than, you know, some of our previous projects that we worked on together. And I was really amazed, and it really helps me get into that place more. Just when I'm on the set and I can see you know, all the props and the equipment, it helps me get into character and to, you know, to feel the reality of the scene. And I was able to do that. Sometimes we just have like a green screen situation, you know, we're just like in a little room with no props or anything whatsoever. And
that's the treatment Emma got, unfortunately. Yes.
And that can be really challenging. But with this, I mean, you know, it was practically a Frankenstein's laboratory. So, yeah, it made it, I don't know, it just kind of filled in everything, made it more real.
Yeah. How long did the effects process take? Was that a big ordeal, or was that more of a
3-hour?
Yeah, the makeup was pretty grueling because we had to do tests before I even actually shot it. And I would go over to Ansel's house, and you know, we tried the makeup in the hospital gown. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, it was. It took a few hours, you know, just standing there and being patient and practicing my meditative abilities.
Well, it paid off because it's a cool scene. It's great in so many different ways.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Visually, kind of grosses me out a little bit. It's great. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, some of the detail, you don't see the detail in some of the rotoscoping, but the detail of the makeup was really incredible.
I gotta say, we did Doug has quite a few pages for that scene. And so I said, we're going to do this like stage. You're just going to do it, and we'll shoot it, and then we'll move along. So the first take, and also I kept him and Ethan separate. I refused to let them interact or meet or speak or do anything until we were going to shoot. And we did the scene in one continuous take. And by the end, everybody called cut, and everybody's just kind of like quiet for like a minute. and then and Doug's just saying, like, is it good? It was well done.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
You just kind of put it all together and then hope those moments happen. You can't really control them, and you don't know. And like Ansel said, this was the first thing we shot. This was my first day, and I had never met you know, my son before, and he wanted it that way because we had to focus on the estrangement that we'd had, and I think that helped a lot with the scene. So
and I think this is one of the best scenes to kind of show that, of like, this movie has everyone in this movie has really great performances and great character work. I mean, Ansel, you put Nate through something I was not expecting in this movie, and he's so funny as it, and he's so great. And then you have David Selby, who's so menacing and charismatic and fully engrossed of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to root for you, but there's something in there where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna fall for you. I'm gonna fall for this. Yeah. What was it like putting David through this performance, and then after that, what was it like working with Nate on
this one?
His character transformation? We'll just say
So with David, I mean, since making Loon Lake, we'd done Dark Shadows, Christmas Carol, and we'd been trying to get another film going together, and this was one of several scripts that was in the mix, and so I said, David, David is such a nice person and such a caring person and cares about the world and is humanitarian and stuff. And like, David, this guy is the antithesis of all that. This is seductive evil, and you are the darkest of dark, and you know what I'm talking about. And you got to bring that to life. And he was a bit challenged by it at first, because he was, well, can there be something redeeming? I'm like, no, there can't be, because of other things that will happen as a result of your character. And then he was like, okay. I mean, I'm excited, but okay. And he had to think about it. And then he texted me one morning, and he sent me a picture of him in the suit, and he goes, I found him. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, because it's finally, I'm getting to see Lucifer, in character. And so then David was just, as he always is, down to just have fun and go and do the craziest things that I would ask him to do, and I expected him to say no, and he'd be like, well, that's how many times do you want me to do it? And and he had a lot of fun with the character, and he's won Best Supporting Actor at the Hollywood Real Independent Film Festival for his performance in the movie. And so I'm proud of that. No, David is super nice, super approachable, never once a diva or a Hollywood star on set, and really generous. And and he was challenged, but he had fun. And working with Nate, what's funny is Nate is the only person that retained his role in the 10 years that we've been trying to make it. And he, how do I say about his, as with Doug, there was a lot of like, okay, you got to come over and we're going to do some wardrobe tests, and we're going to figure this out of how you will end up. And I'll say this, he had his son on set when we did that day, and so Rowan is his little boy. He would be there, and he's like looking up at him in the makeup chair. I'm like, does Daddy look good enough? Do you approve of this? And he never once was scared by how Nate looks. And that's what I will say about that part, because it's spoiler. It's fun.
Yeah. So I was going to say, most of all the performances in this are so much fun, where you do see, even in Lucifer, there are layers, even if they're not good layers, there's bad layers on bad layers as the movie unfolds. But the emotional core of this movie is, it's what grounds it while being this crazy psychedelic sci-fi time traveling movie that looks like nothing you've ever seen before. And I think that's a hard thing to pull off. And man, you all nailed it on this. This is,
thank you.
Yeah.
Good actors really help, because it is a crazy script that could possibly make no sense at various intervals. So, having performers that are dedicated and willing to go out on a limb and bend backwards for the material and understand the material, they're the ones that are going to help you guys, the audience, connect and anchor into this wild ride that is Todd Tarantula. So
I like the idea of David being such a nice guy, and and it comes through as he plays Lucifer. And I was thinking that gives him a good opposite to play and makes the character even more compelling and creepier, because he's so nice. And it gives it kind of a seductive quality.
Mhm.
And he always wears white, and the car that we got for him turned out to be white too. It turned out they only had white cars, but it worked out.
It does work.
It matched his suit, and yeah, just that sort of
You
country.
mean the white car? That was an accident?
Yeah. I think Ansel originally wanted a black one.
I did.
Oh, you know what's so funny? So I might have watched this twice. And on my second watch, I noticed the white car, and I hadn't noticed it on the first. And I even thought to myself, like, that's a nice touch. He's in all white. He's got a white Suburban. Like, that's a really nice touch.
Yeah. Well, it
That's
just
really
happened that
funny.
way. I had to get
Happy
it because,
accident.
yeah, the car place was near where I live. And so I got there, and we had reserved one car, and of course I get there and it's not there. And I'm like, oh, we'll get you this. You can use this white one. And I'm like, oh, and then I texting Ansel, it's like, is white okay? And then he wasn't happy, but it just came together and it worked out. So.
Yeah, I'm just like, just get here on time. Just get here on time. But because I wanted. There was, I mean, the script, as Doug and Emma can tell you, the script is very specific about like the use of color and various, like, I wanted, yellow halogenic lights in an alleyway, and I wanted certain things. So the whole thing with Lucifer was supposed to be, it's like a white hot day, like his suit would have been oppressive, and that's why it's very harshly, like the sky is white and it's very harshly lit, all of those scenes, and I wanted it to be like a black car so that in this white hotness of Los Angeles, there would be this black etching of a car moving through the heat, and that didn't happen. But you got that's where low budget filmmaking, you got to be creative and on the spot and adapt and adjust to circumstances. But it does work with at least the white suit, the white car. He's on a big ego trip, and I could just adjust the color slightly in post production. But
Hey, thank God at least it wasn't like a maroon.
If it had been
some
red,
like green or maroon,
it could have worked. He's flashy.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was funny because the first day I got to work with David, I picked him up because I did double duty as David Selby's driver. I picked him up, and I think he thought that's what I would be driving every day. And then the second day I picked him up, I had my old beat up 95 Toyota Tercel. It's like, is this yours? I'm like, yeah, this is my car. But he was such a good sport about it. And the air conditioning wasn't working. It was like 95 degrees. Yeah. And we had to drive all over town. And
it was intense.
He was such a good sport.
Yeah. Never once complains. Never once, like, as I said, could do the Hollywood card or anything. Like, he's there in the muck with the rest of us, and he's there to have fun, regardless of what is going on around him. And yeah, it was like 98 degrees in downtown. We were shooting in South Los Angeles in a warehouse for a sequence, June 21st, right at the peak of summer in LA, and sweltering. And he came and he did it.
That's awesome.
So you mentioned like the low budget indie spirit, and I mean that's a big part of your work on previous movies too. What's the difference though between working on, obviously we mentioned Loon Lake earlier, where you shot that in Minnesota, and then shooting this movie here in the summer of Los Angeles? What's the biggest difference in terms of not just the weather, because obviously the weather's majorly different than Minnesota and Los Angeles, but in terms of the approaching the filmmaking, the practicality of it, of shooting an indie film in Minnesota versus Los Angeles?
Well, for Loon Lake, there was more money on that. Now, also to preface your whole sentence of low budget filmmaking, it's not like I've not tried to get money for these things. It's just when you want to make something and you got to resort to doing it yourself. But Minnesota versus Los Angeles, we shot Loon Lake with a little bit more money, and we shot in Round Lake, Minnesota, which is not a Hollywood town at all. So everybody was more than willing and more than happy and excited to come and help and be part of it and witness it and be involved, and was an amazing. It is the best filmmaking experience I've ever had in my career. So lucky, and in Los Angeles, nobody could give a shit because this is what we do here, and they are doing it on every street corner with far more money than we had on this film, just for their catering budget. So, you have more help, you have more resources, more welcoming hospitality in Minnesota. And on Todd Tarantula, there was 5 crew members on Loon Lake. There was a crew of me and Kelly, and then Doug would help out when he wasn't acting, and Nate would help out when he wasn't acting, and our sound girl Lila, that was there on set recording sound, and that was it. So a lot of it was just down to me having to micromanage a bunch of things while trying to direct the film and shoot the film, and explain to them where they're at, and rotoscope and lizards and spiders and all kinds of things. And so that's the difference. But I mean, every film is a case-by-case example. You know, Emma and Doug have both worked on much bigger, higher prestige projects than Todd Tarantula. So, you know, their set experience is different from mine on this one. And
Less fun.
you know,
No, I mean, yours is more fun,
okay.
to be clear.
Yeah,
Well, we're more about, you know, team spirit, and you try to make it like a family when you're making an independent film, because you're all coming together. There is no money. You're all coming together for the sake of the art, for the sake of movie magic and creation. So you kind of want to have a good team surrounding you, and everybody wants to have fun. So
Yeah, and there's a sense of camaraderie. Everybody knows that, you know, every second counts and every penny counts, and, you know, so that does help to generate that team spirit for sure.
That's awesome.
yeah. I never really was a good team player growing up. I always used to get, you know, report cards that would say does not work well with others. You know? Works well independently. And you know, I used to draw a lot and study Spanish and things like that. And this is like one of the few things where I can really get into team playing. You know, just getting all together with the crew and the actors and just the whole process of it, whether it's behind or in front of the camera. And it just feels, you know, like it's probably one of the few things I really enjoy doing as a team. And Ansel really, you know, he makes it fun. I mean, he has such imaginative writing, and just the things he comes up with, and that he's come up with. I've been let's see, I was a zombie one time in one of his movies. Let's see, what else have I been?
a cop.
Yeah, a cop. That's even more of a stretch than the zombie for me. But I mean, you know, he always brings a very imaginative fantasy component to it that makes it a lot of fun. And it's what it's always been for me growing up, is that escapism. You know, that's what I always loved about cinema, was, you know, just the chance to escape into something different. And you know, he really taps into that.
Yeah, especially here. I love myself a good trippy psychedelic kind of hangout movie, really. Like, you're just vibing with the characters for so much of this, and I'm a sucker for those types of movies. I really enjoy that. It's Doug. It sounds like you're a team player. You just had to find the right team. You know.
I remember Andy Warhol's Dracula. There's a scene where Dracula is in a bar and he goes to Italy looking for virgins, and he's sitting by himself, and they're kind of making fun of him at the next table, and they say, "Hey, would you like to play with us?" And he goes, "Well, I'd like to play with you, but I don't know any games." And I could really relate to that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was the spirit of independent film just flows through this movie. You can see the camaraderie, the teamwork aspect, even as an audience member. If you don't know that everybody's kind of pulling double duty on certain things, you can feel that in the movie of everybody's having fun, telling a fun story, telling a story that you're not going to see anyone else make. This is a wholly original idea, and it's so much fun to watch and unfold. And really, just have to applaud all of you for making the film and releasing it for everyone to see, because obviously for us here in South Dakota, that's all we can do is independent films. We don't have anything bigger than that. And I think having Ansel, your films of Loon Lake, and Todd Tarantula being this kind of spirit of independent film shows that no matter if you're in Minnesota or if you're in Los Angeles, if you have passionate people, you have people who know what they're doing, who are good at their doing, you can pull off movie magic. And that's really what has happened here. So a round of applause for all of you in this movie. Really appreciate you guys coming on and just being, giving us a little peek behind the curtain of Todd Tarantula. That's always one of my favorite things, especially on something so wild and crazy and imaginative, but so heartfelt. I just need a little peek behind the curtain. I need to know a little of the movie magic.
Yeah, I paused the movie like 45 minutes in on my first watch, and I just texted Casey like, dude, I have so many questions. So thank you guys for coming on and sharing this movie with us. And I loved it. I'm so, I don't know. I get giddy when I find a movie that I really like, and I've just been like hopping around. Like, I've been texting everybody about it. So yeah.
we have no marketing budget or department, so it's all word of mouth and spread the love of this movie and tell your friends, because that's the only way people are going to discover it. And thank you so much for all the encouragement for all of us to know that it's been worth it, all the money and pain and years of wondering and being in Los Angeles in a garage in 100-degree weather, maybe acting with people, maybe having a set or not. It's I'm relieved this thing exists. I say that. I'm like, I don't have to think about this anymore. Let's thank you for enjoying it.
So for people listening, where can they watch Todd Tarantula? That's where we're at the point. Where can people watch the film? Also, where can people review the film and follow all of your guys' work online as well?
Yeah, you can currently rent the film on Vimeo on demand. Just search Todd Tarantula on Vimeo on demand, and it should be expanding to additional streaming platforms like Tubi, hopefully very soon. We're working on a disc release, and that's currently where you can see it. And check out hollinsworthproductions.com, HOLLINSWORTH productions.com. You can find Todd Tarantula there, you can find Loon Lake there, and all the rest of the work with some of these familiar faces. And
Awesome.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you guys so much for joining us. Please go check out Todd Tarantula and please give it I know, very important thing on all internet movie spaces. Leave a review. I think that's a great place to help share the word. So,
and whether you like it or not, just tell your friends about it. Just talk to people about it. Like, who cares? It's a movie. Like, more people just need to see more, like, take more chances on movies like this, because it's tremendous. And you find a gem like Todd Tarantula and you kind of want to shout it from the mountaintops. So, like, for real, congratulations, guys. This movie is awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
all right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.